Hello, hello, hello. Test, test, test. Can you hear me loud and clear? Let me pull up the stream. Twitch.tv/Bitcoin Schmitcoin. Let's take a look. Bitcoin. All right. Got audio. We got video. Okay, we're good. How's everyone doing? Oh, I see I got a Prime subscription. Thanks, man. For those that don't know, you can do Prime subscriptions for free, actually. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free Twitch sub with it. So if you haven't used that already, feel free to subscribe with your favorite streamer. I got another gifted sub from Nook. Thanks. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So we'll actually start with crypto today. Normally I start with Dixie, but crypto is we'll kind of do it in a different order. Let me label my notes. So daily discussion for 10/20/23. Okay. So the long-awaited B-band squeeze has resolved itself, or seemingly resolved itself, right? We obviously need to wait for a close, but it looks pretty good so far, right? Let's go here. This should be a cleaner chart. What we've been looking for this whole time is either a pullback or a move to the upper B band. And let me get a cleaner chart altogether. Let's just do Bitstamp, whatever. And what we've been looking for is a move to this upper band. It's obviously been consolidating. You know, you can make an argument. I've had this like little diamond thing drawn on my chart for quite some time. And diamonds are basically just fancy symmetrical triangles, and they can either break up or break down. And the measured move for these things, the conservative measurement is you just take the low to the high. So it'd be at 2690. And then you just project it upwards. So it would be something like this, you know. So we'd be targeting somewhere up here in the 31,000s, which makes sense. I mean, it's not terribly surprising. 31,000 is a logical level for a number of reasons, which we'll go into. But I want to stay focused on the B bands real quick. If you aren't exposed to Bitcoin yet, no big deal. All we want to see for a FOMO long is we just don't want to see this thing closing with a rejection of the upper band. So we don't want to see something like, let me see if I can find an example, something like this. Like, so let's say we go back in time. We go, okay, cool. It's closing right at the upper band. We don't want to see it doing something like this, where you see this rejection off the band. We want to see it. You know, I've been talking about this concept for a few weeks now of like attaching to the upper band. So we definitely don't want to see something like this. This would be at minimum concerning. But rather than, you know, something that rejects the top band, we want to see something that accepts the top band. So something more along the lines of this guy right here, where it has a very clean walk up to the band, and then bam, it just follows it until we get this detach up here. And it looks like that's what we're setting up now. So we saw Sunday close a really nice candle off of the midline. Still not actionable just yet by my strategy. This would be the actionable close. So we're looking to see how the daily candle closes. And if it closes, you know, anywhere around this upper band, as long as it's not full-blown rejection, this is a long signal. And so, you know, it's not financial advice, but the typical setup or the typical stop loss, especially if you're trading trading spot, I personally don't like to put stops on spot. Because it's such a high time frame, I'd rather just wait for I don't want to ride the volatility through it. I'd rather just wait to see how a candle closes. And so rather than putting a stop loss, we would say, okay, we'll just wait to see if the candle closes below this fella right here. Or, you know, if we see some significant red that brings us further inside the band, like here, for example, this would be, you know, a sign to maybe tighten our stops or at minimum, you know, reduce size. But you can see, even if you use this closing strategy, you would have been long this whole time, right? So like when we have this breakout up here, you stay long until the market closes below this fella, and it never closed below it. So even though it had all these wicks that went below it, it just never had that stop trigger, right? So you would have been long in the trade the whole time. So when I'm trading spot, I prefer to have manual stops. I'm looking for closes, not for volatility, because we all know how volatile crypto can be intraday, and we don't care about that. We care about the grand scheme of things going up, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and update our notes here. So I'm kind of doing this out of order, but I want to address this first. So daily B bands looks very promising, as we have the squeeze into B-Band's expansion. Squeeze, we'll write it like this, squeeze into B-Band's expansion. We want to see the daily closing with an acceptance of the upper band. Yeah, so basically what I just went into. And here's the squeeze, right? So we see the squeeze coming in, boom, and we see this really clean expansion of the bands, which says consolidation over. The reason why we don't want to see a rejection off the upper band is because this is, on some occasions, this can be a fake out. And so if we see weakness off the upper band, we want to be mindful of where it closes next. But we shouldn't just assume a fake out, right? We want to have objective stops. And when we see this expansion of the bands here, this says consolidation over, new trend begin, right? So I'll add that. Squeeze, B-band squeeze into... I know there's like I forget what John Bollinger calls it. There's like an actual formal name that he calls it when the bands expand, but we'll just say into band expansion says consolidation over, new trend begins. And we were consolidated for a long time. Like we were in this thing for basically a month, right? Was it a month? It was like 3 weeks. 3 weeks pretty much. But that's a long consolidation. It's one of the longer ones we've had in a while. We had this guy right here, but this was like exceptionally flat. And we see that represented on the weekly candles. So if we go to the weekly candles, just like look at all these dojis. This is the most amount of back-to-back dojis we've seen basically since, I think it was like 2016 was the last time we saw that many weekly dojis in a row. So this is like pretty rare that the market does this, where it just like comes up and just dojis sideways. But if we can get a move back up to the B bands on the weekly, this thing's still got some juice left in it, right? So if we can get a move up to here on the weekly, basically by next Sunday, that would signal a weekly continuation. So something like, I'm not saying it's going to be like this, but you can see, once we get a weekly close on the B bands and we get the attach, it rides upward. Here's an example again. Of course, we have just a ton of examples like this, right? So, the day of reckoning will come for the late bulls, where we do see a profound pullback that really gut checks everyone. But right now, the charts don't really say that that's what's in store, right? Obviously, we need to wait 6 more days to see where the B bands close, or where the daily, Jesus, my brain, to see where the weekly candle closes. But the daily is promising, and the daily will tease what the weekly is going to do next, right? Daily closes before the weekly. Sorry, guys. Sneezing. It's pollen season over here. What else we want to say? Okay, so entry signal would be a daily close that accepts or attaches to the upper band with a stop below. I don't know if there's a formal name for this. We'll go ahead and trademark it right now. Below the I'll say the attachment candle, and the attachment candle is this guy. So it'll be the candle that gets us velcroed to the upper band. So in this case, it would be this guy. If we look at bearish examples, it would be this fella, right? This guy, and yeah, you guys get the idea, right? With a stop below, with a stop, I'll say stop triggered by a close, by a daily close below the attachment candle. And we'll say this is BTC. Could this pump be the UTAD? Yeah, it totally could. So that's why I'm saying we want to keep an eye out for it and a rejection of the upper band. A rejection of the upper band would be an indication that we just took out a bunch of stops. You don't see it here because this is by Bitstamp. It didn't take out the prior high, but if we look at things like Coinbase, not Coinbase, Jesus, my brain is all over the place. Coinbase took out the prior high, right? A very different chart than Bitstamp. You see, it took out the prior high. If we reject here, and we get a candle that closes down in here, that would not be a long signal by my standards. That would be actually very alarming because we actually took out the high and then retraced 50%. But as long, even if we take out the high and we don't just full blown retrace, as long as we get a close that's like within striking distance of this B band, that's totally fine by me. Nothing terribly alarming there. But yes, you're totally right. Like it could ultimately yield. So if we're looking at this thing like this on lower time frames, for those who don't know, what he's basically asking, or she, I don't know what you are, but basically asking, could this be further distribution signs? A really big sign that this is distribution is if we start getting like 4-hour closes back inside the trading range, that would be a big sign, a hint of what's to come. But yeah, I mean, so far, we should never just, whenever we see a breakout, especially if we're in an uptrend, we should never just assume that it's going to be a fake out, right? The assumption is that's going to keep going. And then the onus is on the bears to show their hand, right? The momentum is in the direction of the bulls, right? So, okay. Yeah, so let's take a look at some of the, what do we want to call it? The peripheral markets for Bitcoin. So GBTC for one. So GBTC had a C clamp. It no longer has that. So if we saw it the close of last week, it had this perfect C clamp. Which again, we don't just short this in hopes that it's going to mean revert. Really what we should be looking for is we should be looking for a close below this, and it never got it, right? So if we fast forward, we see that the Kijun is pulling up, and then the C clamp just resolved itself. It's gone. It's the overbought condition is no longer there, and this is now just looking like a really healthy uptrend, right? Which is great because if we look at the weekly cloud, it's about to close inside it. So as long as this thing doesn't just, nuke, this is set up for success. So if we get a weekly close inside this cloud, we get the edge to edge set up, and we'll take it from there. But at minimum, it's going to say, hey, we have more upside. So I'll add GBTC. Daily C clamp is now invalid. And we are now looking for a trend continuation. Weekly cloud shows potential for an edge to edge play pending a close inside the cloud. And let's, what is that value? That value is basically essentially 16.9, we'll say. Cloud close equals $16.9. So as long as it closes above 16.9, this thing's setting up an edge to edge. And that'll close on Friday, right? Because this is GBTC. It's only traded during the week, so this only has 4 days left on it. And then let's also take a look at CME futures. Can we look at Ether later? Want to see the charts are showing compared to? Yeah, I've never done a stream where I did not look at Ether. I just always start with either Bitcoin or the dollar index, but we're definitely going to cover Ether. Don't you worry. CME futures. I'll say CME Bitcoin futures. On CME futures, there's quite a few things that are interesting. It still has the C-clamp-ish thing. Now, this might prove to resolve itself. Like maybe if it closes up here tomorrow and it keeps going up, this thing's just going to pull up, right? But right now, we do need to keep an eye on this because if we reject this high, let's say worst case scenario, just to play devil's advocate here, this thing rejects this high right here, we would look for a close below this Tenkan and target the Kijun, right? So technically, the C-clamp is still on the table, but as long as we close somewhere up here, it'll be invalidated by the open of the next day. But technically, it is still on the table. So let's go ahead and just write that down just to keep kosher, right? So daily C-clamp is technically still on the table, but if we close anywhere near these values, the daily Kijun will climb and it will invalidate the setup. Okay. The other thing I want to point out is on the weekly chart, we're still good to go on this edge to edge. It never closed back outside. It's just kind of taking a little bit longer, which in my opinion, if you want to be super bullish, as long as we don't, the slower the move up is actually better. Because if we go too fast, we're going to run into this resistance and probably come back down. But if we do something like this is actually the best case scenario for a prolonged uptrend, something that lasts, a handful of months rather than just like a handful of weeks. So if we keep going up like this is actually better. This is better than just a flash in the pan that comes crashing down. So if we keep going up like this, we'll eventually just break out of the side of this cloud. So all that to say, weekly edge to edge is still in play. Smiley. Okay. Now, when we look at the B band, same thing that I said with spot applies here. We want to see this thing attaching up here. And so you're probably asking yourself, like, why am I even talking about all this other shit? We're stacking clues, right? This is how I always teach this stuff. It's like we should be thinking of ourselves as like little detectives, right? And the more things we can stack on our corner to say, yes, this is a bullish bias. Yes, this is a bullish bias. The more things we can pile up, the more confidence we can have in the trend, and the less likely you are to get shaken out or spooked on pullbacks and things like that. And it just kind of helps you sleep better at night if you're in a long position, right? So if we get a weekly close on this upper band, cool, check. Bull column, ready to keep going upward, right? The one thing I do want to point out on the daily, so the daily consolidation, daily B-band and Ichimoku both indicate a move down. No, that's not right. The daily B-band for CME futures, it has the potential to set up a reversal pattern called a 3 pushes to a high. If we get a massive rejection off of this high. This is why it's really important to wait until it closes before you trade. If we get a close, so here's a really good example of why you should have %B and BBW with your chart. If we get a close, so right now, here are the 3 pushes to a high. So here's a high, high, high. The way you use this with Bollinger Bands is you then go down, you say, okay, here are my 3 highs. How do they correlate on my %B? We see high, come down here, we go high. And if this thing closes a lower high, so something below here, like if we get really zoomed in here, and we take our, like a little bit of a horizontal here, if we get a close below here, this would then set up a 3 pushes to a high, which is a reversal pattern. It's essentially like you went like this, boom, boom, and then bam. You've probably seen this sort of structure like this a million times in crypto. This is just the Bollinger Band variant of that. Now, as long as we close up here, then 3 pushes to a high is off the table. But just throwing this out there, in case we do see profound selling for whatever reason, then it has the potential to set up a 3 pushes to a high. But right now, totally fine. Looks good. All right, I got a bunch of messages here. Let's look at them. I have missed the 20K, 25K, and 27K buy-in. I don't want to say I've missed 29K again. Should we wait for the drop to buy some? Yeah, so I actually addressed this already, and I have it in the show notes. Yeah, all this stuff has already been covered. I would suggest just rewinding it so I don't have to cover it all again, or going to my Discord and catching the show notes there. I post all the little notes that I keep track of during the stream. I post them in my Discord, and they're available for free. So if you want the link to the Discord, bam, there you go. Can you switch to 1 hour candle, please? Oh my God, this is a word soup. Okay, let me see this. Can you switch to 1 hour candle, please? In 1 hour time frame, 29,290 is high, left, lower high, and if the right candle closed below the high, that makes... Okay, I'm not going to answer that. That sounds like you're asking for specific trade advice, and I'm not going to do that. So we have a replay. Yeah. So I also, in the Discord, I also post the recordings of the streams there. So it's the one-stop shop for all this stuff. Okay. Kind of got derailed here. What was I saying? Edge to edge still in play. Let's say note, in the event of profound selling, watch for the daily B-bands. I'll put this in quotation marks. 3 pushes to a high. Setup. This will be signaled by the 3rd high, making a lower 3rd high on the %B. This is for all the B-bands nerds out there. I'm a big fan of B-bands. I love that indicator. It's such a good indicator. Okay. All right. Any questions about the Bitcoin stuff? I mean, I'm not specifically asking for short. If a swing high is made, what would you do in that case? It made a swing high already. What do you mean? This is a swing high. I literally laid out what I'm going to do right here. I worded it. Entry signal would be a daily close that attaches to the upper CP band. Yeah, I mean, so shorting a breakout like this is basically like flipping a coin. It's like flipping a four-sided coin. You know, imagine a world where we can have four-sided coins, right? Imagine a world where we have a four-sided coin, right? Jay Riddy, you always triggered me so hard. I read that mid-sentence, and you asked me if I was going to go over Bitcoin. I was like, I'm gonna fucking lose it. But imagine, like, so shorting right now, this is basically like imagine a world where four-sided coins exist, right? And three out of the four sides is heads. And for whatever reason, you want to bet on tails. Now, there's a chance you're right, but the odds aren't in your favor to bet on heads, right? It's a 75% chance it's going to be tails. That's basically what's happening right now. Like, maybe you'll be right, but play the trend, right? Like, play all the odds that are in your favor. Dude, I'm new in the space. I'm learning things. I got curious, so I asked. What's so funny here? I don't think anyone's making fun of you. Literally just saying, if the trend is up, don't, like, the odds that you are somehow going to time the exact top of this thing are very, very low, right? So rather than trying to wager that you have caught the exact high of the market, play the odds. The odds are in your favor that they're going to go up. Can you look at the same Coinbase one-day chart, then see Ichimoku and B bands for what I was referring to earlier? Yeah. How does the confluence with SPX look to you? Okay, so good transition. So let's go ahead and now go to equities and dollar index and all that other stuff. Because normally we do this first, but we're going to go over this now. Because in my opinion, I hope some of you guys caught the stream that me, Jack, and Josh did on Wednesday. We have a Justice League of Crypto Super Friends Omega stream every other Wednesday. Last Wednesday was on Jack's stream. Next Wednesday, so a week and a half from now, it'll be on my stream. I'll be hosting it. And all three of us are going to discuss the markets together. But last week, I discussed that, in my opinion, I think the most important chart to be watching is the dollar index. The dollar index is going to tell us exactly how the next few weeks will go, and potentially how the next few months will go for all markets, not just crypto, but equities, metals, crypto, whatever. Because the dollar index is a relative weighting of the dollar versus other world currencies. So anytime we see Dixie going down, right, that means if we're just looking at like a ratio of supply and demand pushes markets up, supply pushes markets down, and the fair market value is the equilibrium point between supply and demand. And so if the dollar is being pushed down, that means that there's an excess of supply in the market. And the way you get excess of supply of dollars is you sell other shit for, I'm sorry. If the way you get excess of, I'm mixing myself up. The way you get excess supply in the market is you buy equities or crypto or whatever, right? And so what's the CBDC version of Dixie? What is CBDC? I don't even know what that is. So if long story short, if dollar is going down, that means everything else relative to the dollar is going up, right? So we care a lot about the dollar index. It's not just for Forex. It's not just for traditional markets. It's for every market. Because if Dixie goes down, then saddle up because everything else is going up. You know, that's like the ADIQ interpretation of this. Now, there will obviously be nuance to this. It's not just a one-to-one correlation like dollar go down, buy Bitcoin. It's not that. But if you want to distill the basic points of this concept down, like that's where this goes, right? So we care a lot about the dollar index. And right now, it is currently sitting on macro support. And specifically what we want to see is over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and ultimately the monthly close. We want to see it closing below this support here. This is support that has been established over the last 10 years, essentially, right? We have this range high, it breaks out, provides support, boom, and now we're coming back down to retest. If this thing accepts support and bounces, that's going to be a catalyst most likely for Bitcoin pulling back, equities pulling back, while this thing bounces to wherever it's going to go. If, however, this thing doesn't bounce off support and it comes down, then we can expect to see equities going up, crypto going up, metals going up. Everything goes up because they're getting rid of their dollars, right? Or I'm sorry, they're using their dollars to buy other assets. Okay, so let's go ahead and make some notes. Let's update this thing. Let's keep this format the same. Boom. We'll go boom. Call you Dixie. And you join the Discord. Where are the notes? I can't find them. There is a stream community section. And in the stream community, there are stream notes. You got to open up the stream community. It's a forum. You got to just open it. So monthly, still sitting on supports. Nothing terribly insightful until we break this support. Support would be considered broken with a close below $101, say 101.5, below 101.5. You know, there was this C-clamp thing. So technically we could also look at this too. Look at this Kijun and be like, look for a close below this Kijun. So it would be here. That would be an early sign of weakness. But I would feel most comfortable decisively saying, yeah, support is broken below this level here, right? But there is an argument to be made that, closing below this thing, this little red squiggle, closing below that would be a sign of broken trend. But I would feel more comfortable because it's so close to this level. Like I would prefer to be more conservative than, Moon Boy. So I would decisively say close below this would be what we're looking for. Now, if we look at the weekly cloud, this thing is pretty bearish. It's not as bearish as it could be, but it's getting there, right? Like we see the Kumo twist, we see the trend below the cloud, we see the Tenkan trending below the cloud now. The Kijun is inside the cloud. The only thing that would make this more bearish than it already is I'll take you to a past example so you can see it, is something like this, where we see the Tenkan, the Kijun, and the lagging span below the cloud. But obviously you can see that like that's going to lag severely behind. So if we go back in time, the initial weakness is so let's go back in time here. So we don't want to wait until this thing breaks through the cloud. We want to say, okay, this thing's already here. So essentially we are the equivalent of here right now. Where we see, actually be a little bit further, because we have this twist, right? We see the Tenkan below the cloud. We see the Kijun inside the cloud. This is the early warning signs of weakness. And then as we keep going, we get confirmation of weakness there. Boom. Right? And it just keeps going down. So, yeah. So let's say here to weekly A, still sitting on macro range support, but the cloud is forecasting weakness, let's say. Forecasting weakness. Price is below the cloud. Tenkan is below the cloud. Kumo twist. And we'll say this. Kijun is inside the cloud. Now let's take a look at the B bands. B bands are showing weakness, right? Early signs of weakness. This is why I really like B bands. Early signs of weakness converse to what we're seeing on Bitcoin. If we see a weekly close on this lower band, that is an early sign of weakness. So that would mean we don't have to wait for the monthly candle close below the support. This says, with high confidence, a weekly close on the lower B band. Not here, but on it. Something like, let me find a cleaner version. Something like this, where we see very clearly it closes on it or below it. Like that's fine too. Here, another example. Boom. This is a sign of a downward continuation, right? So this is weekly. We'll say B. Weekly B bands are hinting toward continuation to the downside. Watch for a weekly close on or below the lower band. And I'll also say i.e. Attachment / acceptance of the lower band. Make sense? Okay. Until then, until we get something like that where it closes on that lower band, I would not feel comfortable assuming that support is going to break. You never want to short into support, just like you never want to long into resistance. Wait until it gets to the other side, right? Wait until it gets to the other side. This thing could very well go boom, 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 right? And all of this time that this is happening, this is just chopping up everything else. Every time this bounces, Bitcoin's going down. Every time this comes down, Bitcoin's going up. So it's just asking to get your feelings hurt. But if we get this close down here, we have really another huge clue that Bitcoin's in for a massive run to the upside. So question from Kirbiness. You mean a monthly close on Dixie, or would a weekly close be enough to break support? I think I just answered that. Yeah, I think I just answered that. Okay. So, for the individual that was asking, about equities, right? So here's S&P 500. Another Prime sub from Buckon99. Thanks, man. So this is another PSA in case you missed it. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free with your Prime membership. You get one free Twitch subscription. Because I think Amazon owns Twitch, or they have some sort of partnership with them. I don't really know what the deal is there, but you get a free subscription with your Prime membership. And if you feel so inclined, you can spend it on me or whoever your other favorite streamer is. No pressure either way. They own them? Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought Amazon might own them. Let's not say SPY. Let's say SPX. Okay, so why do we care about SPX? Because again, we're collecting clues. Even if you don't give a shit about equities and you're only crypto, you should still be watching them. Because when we get signs like this and the market breaks out here, crypto's going up too, bro. Like, it's not, these things don't happen in a vacuum, right? Case in point, here you go. The entire bull market for crypto was here. The entire bear market for crypto was here. If we get a new bull market in equities, further confluence that we're going to see more upside for crypto. So even if you don't care and you're not trading it, you should still care and watch it, right? Because right now, S&P 500 is at a pretty interesting point. So I'll go through a couple of indices and I'll circle back to things like Ether and whatever altcoins you guys want to look at. And I do have a couple of other setups that I want to talk about if you guys are interested that are equities. And if no one cares, then I will just grind myself to sleep and not share it with you guys. But if you're interested, then I'll pretend like I know what I'm talking about a little bit longer and share it with you guys. But here, let me get a drink of water. My tongue is like dry right now. Okay. So S&P 500 is at an interesting point. It's currently being compressed under the midline of the monthly band, getting a close above the monthly B band midline would likely yield a move to the upper band. So similar to edge to edge setups in crypto, there's also this concept of like an edge to edge on B bands. So here's an example here. Boom. It runs to the upper band. Boom. Runs to the upper band. Boom. Runs to the upper band. Here's a failure. So it's, you know, it's not 100% strike rate, but it's pretty freaking close. Boom. Gets within striking distance. Never closes back below the band. Runs to it. Boom. Runs to the upper band. So it's really, really high strike rate on things like this. Another one. Boom. Here's a failure. Continuation, right? So all of that to say, we need to watch this monthly close, because if we get a close above the B band midline, I would expect this sucker to run to the upper band. Where it goes from there remains to be seen. You know, whether it keeps going and builds a new trend and keeps going up, we can't forecast that now. But all we can say is that there's a really high likelihood of running from here to the upper band. We can say that with a lot of confidence. So, currently below the monthly B band midline. Watch for a close above the midline, as this would indicate a potentially strong move to the upper band. Then I'll also make this note where it goes once it reaches the upper band remains to be seen, but remains to be seen. It could very well hit the upper band and reverse, or start a new full cycle, right? Amazon bought Twitch in 2014. You guys are, I'm over here talking about S&P 500 and you're like doing all this research. It's funny. Like, yeah. S&P 500 is cool, but Twitch though. Okay, what else do we want to say? So I'll go ahead and put this setup here. Okay, so if you're looking to trade this, for example, if looking to trade SPX, we would wait for a close above the midline with a stop triggered by a close below the midline. We'll do this because this will translate well. So if we combine SPX USD and BTC correlation, if SPX up, USD index will be up and BTC will be down. No, the opposite. Everything is anti-dollar. So if dollar goes down, okay, that means people are trading this dollar because the demand is down for the dollar. If the demand is down, with the buying power is going somewhere, and it's going to other things. So if the dollar goes down, we would expect equities to go up and crypto to go up. They're inverse plays. Everything is inverse dollar. The reason why I'm looking at this, even if you don't give a shit about this, you should care, because this going up would be a strong correlation and further confidence that crypto is going up as much more upside. You're below 80 IQ. It's okay, man. Just stick to soft foods. You'll be okay. What else do we want to say about this? I mean, so we could look at the weekly, but the weekly is honestly just kind of a chop fest. There is a series of lower highs. If we get a close on the weekly upper B band, that would be an early hint that the monthly is also going to close this. So, you know, and this thing's pretty squeezed too. Like if we look at just the B band squeeze, so I mean, like historically, like that's around the average level of squeeze that yields a breakout. So even though it doesn't have this like perfect like bell shape where it's going like this is actually a really textbook squeeze. And we even see a continuation failure. So it continued, tried to continue, failed, it rallied. And now if we get a weekly close on the upper B band, that would be a buy signal for me as well, right? And then similar to the stop for Bitcoin, if we buy the B band attached, we put a stop at a daily close below this. I'm sorry, weekly close below the... Shit, I trademarked something. What did I... The attachment candle? Yeah, the attachment candle. So I'll go ahead and throw this on here too. Because I'm actually looking to get exposure on indices. I'm just waiting for the setups. So weekly B bands would give an early indication of monthly strength. Watch for a weekly B bands attachment to the upper band. Long trigger would be a close on the upper band with a stop trigger triggered by a weekly close below the attachment candle. Okay. That's why I like these B-band setups. It has the risk management built into it. It's such a nice tool to have on your tool belt. So similar to the S&P 500, we also have the same sort of setup on NASDAQ, right? So NASDAQ already on the upper band. Monthly B band. It's just so close to this midline. I personally wouldn't feel comfortable getting long on the weekly just yet. If it reattaches, that'd be great. But I don't like markets that hesitate like this, where you see like it comes up, it attaches, and it goes, I don't know. You know, it's basically just like uneasy bulls. So rather than getting long here, I would either wait for a weekly reattach on the upper band or a monthly close above, right? So all the same plays for S&P 500 also exist on NASDAQ, right? And why I am looking at NASDAQ as well is because this thing's super bull, right? Like if we're looking at macro bull, this is monthly candle. It never even broke this trend. It's been nothing but up only. So if we can get a trend continuation, there are a lot of things playing out here. If we can get a trend continuation and we can get, this is like several months out, but I'm just, trying to look ahead, right? If we can get a Tenkan Kijun cross and then it recrosses, this would be a super, super bullish continuation signal. So if we're looking at the B bands, I want to see this thing running up to this upper band, right? If we get a close above. So I'll quickly just note this stuff. Oops. And then we'll say QQQ. We'll just say that. So one, similar to the SPX setup on the monthly B bands, watch for a close above the midline, as this would trigger a move to the a potential move to the upper B band. Long entry would trigger with a monthly close above the midline, with a stop triggered by a monthly close below the midline. Okay? All different flavors of the same shit. Like all these trades, they're the simpler the better. Like we're seeing these trades all over the place. 2 weekly. I'm just gonna copy and paste this thing because it's the same. Weekly B bands would give an early indication of monthly strength. Yep. Watch for a weekly B bands attachment to the upper band. Long trigger would be a close on the upper band with a stop triggered by a weekly close below the attachment candle. Okay. So in this case, the attachment candle would be this fella here. If it attaches this week, it'd be this guy right here. Yeah. Okay. Okie doke. All right. Let's take a breather for a sec. All right. You guys have any questions about any of this stuff that I've been talking about? I will also take this moment to shill my Discord. So if you're interested in just joining the stream community, which is totally free, here you go. Here's the link. You can always pull this link from my bot and chat. Just go ahead and join there. There's a bunch of free resources. I have stuff like my videos, my lectures, all that stuff is all in one place, right? So all the replays, all the stream notes, which I don't know if you guys actually use it, but I like it. I like the stream notes. It's like basically just holding myself accountable, and it is going to serve as like a diary and an historical record of how I viewed the market week to week, or in this case, every other day. Because I do a stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday typically. Last Friday I didn't do a stream because it was just like boring as fuck. There was like nothing else to talk about, so I'm not going to do a stream for just no reason. Like there's no point. But if it's interesting, then we'll talk about it. So that's that. And if you're interested in joining the actual trading group, where we, me, a bunch of other people discuss trades, discuss market analysis, stuff like that, there's an application in the stream channel or the stream community section. Just fill all that stuff out and DM me on Discord, and we can take it from there. Okay. But if you don't, just be aware that it is a premium service. It's not free. So if that's something you're interested in doing, you're more than welcome to do it. And if you don't want to, cool, no hard feelings. There's a bunch of free stuff that you're free to enjoy. Okay. All right, you guys want to talk about some Ether? Let's talk about some Ether. All right, so Ether is really interesting right now. Wait. I'm gonna backtrack here. Let me go, because someone specifically requested Coinbase, and I never did it. So why do I have 2 of these? Okay, let's make this coin. So someone requested this, and I said I would get back to it, and I never did. So, coin is like, it's a fickle little it's a fickle little chart, because it's just a series of like lower highs, which I'm never a fan of. lower highs, that's usually a sign of weakness in the market. I like to see things break structure, not confirm structure. In this case, we see bearish structure here, just by the simple fact that it is making lower highs. So I would like to see coin start to break highs. When we look at things like the weekly B bands, or I guess it doesn't have enough price history like monthly, you see there's no discernible trend really. It's kind of just like chop city. And in my opinion, there's no real reason to I meant the BTC chart on an exchange such as Coinbase. Binance on the 1 day to see B-band Ichimoku indicator signaling a downtrend. I always look at Coinbase charts. What do you mean? What about the daily B bands? All right, let's hash this out. What about the daily B bands on Coinbase tells you that this is going down? I don't see anything on the Ichimoku cloud or the B bands that signal a downtrend. What do you see? Because the Ichimoku cloud, this just says strong trend. That's all this says. This says strong trend. It had the potential of a mean reversion, but that's long gone. This thing's picked up and it's looking like it's just ready to march upward. But maybe you see something I don't, so let's talk about it. Your Ichimoku cloud looks different than mine. Oh, what are you using? The doubled settings? Josh's settings? What is those? What is the settings? Remind me of what they are again. They're from Cred. He's probably using the double. What are your? Tell me what your settings are. $20, $60. Oh, these are Josh's settings. 30. Okay, so what about this says downtrend to you? Yeah, so you're talking about this C-clamp here. This is a setup, and it's only valid if the market closes below this Tenkan. Tenkan's the blue guy. But you should never assume that it is going to come down here just because it's making this formation, because it can easily do things like the thick blue line is the 50 EMA. This is the cloud. So the reason why you shouldn't just assume that it's going to mean revert is because it can do shit like this. So, right? We see it's very far away. It goes flat. And then if the market picks up, this is actually really similar to our current price action. If it picks up and it breaks out, then it will pull the Kijun, which is the lower, the red guy. It will pull it upward. But this is by definition a full bull trend. Could not be any more bullish than this. Same thing here. This is unquestionably the most bullish bull trend you could ask for in terms of the Ichimoku cloud system. Everything is stacked. We see a stacked configuration of lagging span above price, price above Tenkan, Tenkan above Kijun, and all of that shit above the cloud. So this is the most bullish setup you can have in the cloud system. The only thing you have to be aware of is if the market closes below this fella here, that would signal that a mean reversion is likely. And the way or what it would target is this Kijun. But in bull markets, it's generally not advisable to short this. Rather, you should just buy and add to your position. So rather than selling here, especially if you're trading spot, you're trading high time frame, it's just not worth the risk that it comes down and comes up. So rather than just selling, what you should do is add here. So we'll look at some examples in the past of that. So here, for example, right? The break of this Tenkan, you do not short this. You look to add on retests. Now, if the market closes below the Kijun, that's a different story. But as long as the market's trending above the Kijun, everything's good, man. There's nothing to be alarmed of. It's fine. This would be alarming here because it's closing inside the cloud. But this was a distribution trading range, and whenever you're in a distribution trading range, it's stop hunt city, so you'll get a lot of fake outs in many different directions. So even if you got hung up on that edge to edge play and you got stopped out, like, you can't beat yourself up too much about it. Like, it is what it is. You're not always gonna have winners, but you do hope that your winners far outweigh your losers. Like, that's the end goal, right? You could have a negative trade record, like losing more trades than you do win, so long as you manage your risk well and your winners far outweigh your losers, right? So that's the general methodology behind risk management. Okay. Yeah, super sidetracked. All right, so you don't care about coin? Cool. We'll move on to Ether, because I don't care about coin either. All right, so when we look at the daily, daily is full bull, right? Could not be any more bullish. Could not be any more bullish. Coin is pretty boring right now. It is boring. All right, so right now, here's another perfect example of a full bull trend. We see lagging span above price. We see price above Tenkan, Tenkan above Kijun, and then we see Kijun above the cloud, right? So this is a full bull stacked bullish configuration. Yeah, there's not a whole lot more to say other than this just looks incredibly bullish and strong. We did have a moment of uncertainty here where we broke out and then kind of just like dribbled back inside the trading range. But I mean, we still have an hour left, but unless this thing just turbo nukes in the next 50 minutes, this thing just looks like a breakout and a retest and a continuation. So like Ether looks really good to me. A lot of things look macro good. If we look at the daily B bands, same thing, right? Not quite a trend continuation setup yet. We would wait for the attach on the upper band. But I mean, cloud says up. We're up and up, right? We're looking bullish. So where we would look for pullbacks or entries is always looking for adds on the Kijun. So say we go up a little bit more, we pull back, we look for this thing to not close below the Kijun, but maybe wick through it or close above it or whatever, and then we'd add on the Kijun, right? And I'm not talking. This is not day trading stuff. This is macro stuff that I'm talking about. So I'm not referring to like intraday trades. These are like intra-month trades or intra-quarter trades, right? But yeah, Ether looks incredibly bullish, and it looks like it's good to go. All right, so we've been going for like an hour 10 minutes now. Before we wrap it up, do you guys want to look at any of the altcoins you guys are trading? Doge ate a pile of shit, right? Last time I streamed was here, right when Elon changed the the logo of Twitter to the Doge logo. And then sad dogs. Looks like Doge got euthanized, so to speak. If you guys don't have any tickers, I'll go ahead and I'll walk through some of the trades that I'm looking to, the ones that I haven't talked about yet. But I have quite a handful of equities trades that I'm looking to get in on. Look at FDX. FDX. Oh, stocks. Okay. Shit. Holy shit balls. So FTX looks like it's breaking out, right? So we had kind of this descending broadening wedge thing. Not really. But it definitely has broken out of this downtrend. No question about it, right? These are weekly candles. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so there was this huge market inefficiency following the COVID dump. Look how much it ran. The market retraced it, and it came back down. There's this concept that I talk about in my trading group called the impulse route, where you'll have consolidations like this. It'll come down, and then rather than stair stepping up, it'll do something like this. It'll come down, and then it'll come up. And sometimes the market fades and it comes back down. It clears the impulse route and then comes back up. It didn't quite do that, but it came within striking distance of it. Like here, so in this case, this would be the impulse route. And it came within striking distance of it. It looks like it just kind of got front ran. But it did clear this market inefficiency here where it just melted everyone to the upside. Anyway, weekly is a cloud breakout. This is great. Cloud breakout, textbook. What does the monthly look like? Monthly is a Cosby sweater. Weekly looks pretty good. Weekly looks really good, actually. It's not quite as like attachy on the upper bands as I would like, but this looks fine. It's, it doesn't always have to be like it. Some markets behave differently than others, so you have to kind of go back and price history to see how it behaves. And it looks like FedEx has a tendency of doing that, where it doesn't just ride the upper band; it rides like inside the band. And one thing we can do whenever we see behavior like this is we can slap another B band inside it. So this is 2 standard deviations here. The outer band, the inner one is the same thing, but just 1 standard deviation. And so whenever we see markets that don't ride the upper band quite as cleanly, the next best thing we can do is look for this. So it creates this like zone in here. See this like zone in here? And as long as it's hanging out in there, we're good. I've never traded FedEx, so I'll have to take a look out of it. Take a look at it. Yeah, so it looks like this is just kind of a characteristic of this market. See here? And the way you would trade this type of market is rather than looking for an attach that just rarely comes, and then if it does, it gets faded, you look for a move back down to the standard deviation band. Let me make this a different color, and we'll get rid of the, get rid of the EMAs. So we would trade this. And as long as it doesn't close below this, we're good. Anyway, all that to say, this thing looks good. I would look to get long on a pullback to this fella here. So wherever this goes, pull back to here and get long on this. This actually looks really good. I'm going to mark this for myself. Um, I'm going to mark this for myself because this actually is a really good chart. We've been holding since 2003. Holy shit. 2003, dude, you're up big time. You must be an employee or something. Good Lord. 300%. You were an employee. Haha, I knew it. I get that you're looking to sell the top, but I mean, you do you. I'm not going to give you financial advice. Do whatever you want, but this thing looks like it's just beginning to take off. Any other equities stuff you guys are looking at? What equity? Yeah, so I'll talk about some of the stuff that I'm looking at. Thanks for streaming. You're very welcome. So we talked about S&P 500. We talked about QQQ or NASDAQ. I've been talking about gold for years now, basically since down here. But gold's a slow burn, right? This is one that you're going to hang on to for like a retirement portfolio, not one that you're going to be touching intra year, most likely. But I believe that gold is about to have a massive, massive markup. And I know crypto guys want to shit on it. It's like, oh, that's cute that you're going to get 100x or 100% returns over like 4 years. But it's like, dude, that's for most people, that's really, really good. Also very low risk because it moves very slowly. So I am currently watching, we see here on the monthly, we got a really nice attachment. Basically just watching for any sign of weakness here. But if it rejects the upper B band or whatever, right? But everything looks good on it. Like the trend is bullish. We're about to get a TK recross. And these are monthly candles, by the way. And I'm operating under the assumption that gold is going to do a massive markup. Basically 90% move to the upside. And I believe it's going to have a multi-year bull market, similar to what it did before. I think gold's going to do the same thing. Oops. So keeping an eye out on that. Also looking for, I think UBS is a really great setup. And this is because of this quarterly edge to edge. It's been in this humongo trading range, basically since the housing crisis. And this thing is set up for a monster edge to edge. It would be 130% move to the upside. Currently at the upper B band, also broke resistance here. If you look at the monthly chart, broke resistance and sitting here. So right now is a really great entry opportunity for UBS. The only thing I would be wary about is getting long at the upper trading, the upper boundary. So I would just like to see a monthly close above this thing, this boundary at 1975. I mean, this thing's been in a trading range for 15 years. So what's another month or two, right? Like, don't rush it. But yeah, it looks really good. It's just waiting for the handshake to be like, okay, let's do it. Do I like silver too? Yes, I do like silver. Silver looks really good. Really mostly just watching this thing. I want to see a weekly close I mean, it kind of already did it. It broke this descending trend line, but I would like to see maybe one more for strong confirmation, or at minimum a monthly that does it. But what would be a really good indication is a monthly close on the upper band. That would be a really great long signal. Same strategy as before, right? You long the attachment, the close on the attachment on the upper band, with a stop triggered on the close below this guy here. But I think silver has a lot of upside potential as well. It's in a humongous cup and handle. I don't even know if this might be the world's largest cup and handle. I don't know if this is even still valid, because this is a 50-year chart since the 80s. So, shit, maybe it does. But either way, a girl can dream, right? There's a 1,000% move. It's 1,000% between friends, right? But at minimum, I would think that this thing would at least look to attack the highs. So I'm targeting for silver at least a knock of this guy here. Other equities trades I'm looking to make. Costco. Someone pointed this out in my Discord, but Costco has been in a massive bull flag, absolutely massive. It's a little bit more apparent on the weekly, but we see this huge like pennant type thing, like this, and this is a 100% move. So here's the flag, the pole length, 100% basically, and yeah, basically just looking for the weekly to make. I'll give you one guess what I'm waiting for. If you answered attachment to the upper band, congratulations, you're a genius. I'm waiting for the attachment to the upper band here. The reason why I'm patiently waiting on this is I'm not a super big fan of these equal lows. I don't like equal lows because this builds a price floor, and it's just asking for fuckery that moves down and continues, or moves down and bounces. So what would alleviate my reservations here is the attachment to the upper band. And this is one that's a multi-month, potential multi-year trend. You can see Costco is just an absolute monster, and when it runs, it runs. And if this thing can start a new trend to the upside, I mean, who knows? Like, Costco is just an absolute savage. Yeah, those are the big ones I'm looking at right now. I mean, we can look at Tesla. Tesla's, like many other tech stock. Oh, one that I am actually watching is Apple. So Apple, it looks exceptionally bullish. And we got the Kumo twist here. The only thing I would really like to see on the cloud that would make this more bullish than it already is we want to see the Tenkan and the Kijun above the cloud. But it is currently, teasing this B-band breakout. So I would really like to see this thing get a move back up to here. And if it can close back on this upper band, then that triggers the continuation trade. We did get a monthly close above the midline. So, it does have some juice left to squeeze to the upside to this upper B band. And the bands are super, super squeezed. So here's like, to put things into perspective. Like, this is average consolidation length, and this is since the 90s, right? This is super, super consolidated, and this looks like it's positioned to just explode to the upside. It's basically making just a giant bull flag, right? bull flag, it's kind of sloppy, but if you look at it on the monthly, it kind of filters out the sloppiness. You basically just be like, come on, get out of here. You basically, you know, you could argue this is the bull flag. Here's the pole to here. So that's a 400% move. Monthly cloud looks bullish as shit. So Apple just looks like and that's right in line with like NASDAQ, right? S&P 500, all this stuff. I forget, is Apple is it in S&P 500 or NASDAQ? I forget which index it's in. I want to say it's NASDAQ, isn't it? Nook would know. Nook it's in NASDAQ? Okay. Yeah, so that makes sense. This is right in line with what we would expect because NASDAQ is showing exceptional bullishness. So, why not both? Is it in both? I always thought that it was separate. Apple and Microsoft, 13% of SPY. I guess it could be in both. I really don't know. That's a good question. I'm showing my my novice understanding of indices, but yeah. Either way, this thing looks amazing. Apple looks like basically what we want to see is we want to see the handshake from QQQ and from S&P to go up, and I think Apple is just going to rip a hole in the universe and maybe create a black hole that kills everyone on the planet. But yeah, Apple looks great. We can look at Intel, INTC. Oh, INTC closed up fat bullish engulfing. So this is interesting. Intel does not look as bullish as Apple, nowhere fucking close, but it does have this C-clamp mean reversion. So that would be, a run from here to here. And that move is a 40% move. 40% move for Intel. And that would not surprise me. It'd be crazy if it's set up like a cup and handle thing, right? Like it did something like, that's kind of sloppy for a cup and handle. But would you consider a cup and handle? Beat you to it. If you look at it on the log chart, it kind of is. But this is like cup, droopy handle. Maybe. Given that it's Intel, maybe it does. Which would be a humongo price target. 600%. But I wouldn't trade this as a cup and handle until it even gets back up to the lip. I would wait for a breakout. I would wait for this level to break before I would even start talking about a cup and handle. But monthly cloud says mean reversion likely for this C-clamp. So, maybe stock bullishness pulls this thing back up for a mean reversion. This is crazy. Anyway. Yeah, I would don't try to like crystal ball large consolidations like that. This thing's, if it is going to be a cup and handle, you'll have plenty of time to get in. It's not worth, just getting exposure and like sitting underwater potentially for years. This thing's been consolidating since 2000, basically since the tech bubble, right? So yeah, just be patient with it, Yeah, these are monthlies, exactly. But yeah, I mean, these are all things to like. These are things you should just kind of check on like once a week, once a month, kind of thing. It's like just make a to-do list, make your list, and you're like, okay, I'll check on this, I'll check on this, I'll check on this. Make a notepad similar to what I'm doing here, just on a hyper, a really long time frame, and just kind of just march down it. Like, okay, I'm doing this, and then I'm doing this, and then I'm doing this. Right? It should be a very binary set of actions. But maybe it mean reverts on the monthly. Remains to be seen. Okay, AMD. Yeah, let's look at AMD. A lot of people asking about equities today. I like it. Usually, it's a bunch of moon boys just spamming altcoin tickers at me. So I like this. Okay, so AMD is in an interesting spot. You see that it got the monthly close above the midline, and it's kind of hesitating. So technically, you could get long here. And then if it closes anywhere below this midline, you just cut your losses and get out. What does the weekly look like? So weekly doesn't look bad, right? If you want to play a lower time frame like the weekly, which is funny to think about because these are weekly candles, look for the B band attach here, right? Look at Dixie. Why? Why am I looking at this? What's wrong with Dixie? 15-minute. I would not look at dollar index on anything lower than a daily. I really, really suggest against it. It's not a one-to-one correlation where micro movement to the downside yields a micro movement to the upside. That's definitely weird. Huh. So if that happened, then that means something probably happened on the euro. No? Huh. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Weird. But yeah, I would really suggest against looking at anything below the daily. Anyway, shit, I'm losing my okay AMD. So with AMD, I would look for again the reattachment on the upper band. Be a really great shot. Cloud, if I had to guess. Okay, I was actually thinking it was going to be a cloud breakout, but it's not. I mean, it's still got the edge to edge play, right? So it's got some juice to the upside. Potential breakout to the side. We do have the Kumo twist. That's great. All of the early workings of a cloud breakout. But weekly B bands say watch for a move to here and watch for the continuation with a stop below the attachment candle. Okay, I want to see UNG, United States Natural Gas Fund. Jesus, okay. I mean, this looks like a shit coin that's just going into the dirt. I don't really know what else to say about this. This looks terrible. It's been nothing but down since its inception. It won't stop making lows. Yeah, I know. This looks like ass. Do I ever look at mining stocks? Yeah, sometimes. But I mean, I don't ever trade them. What is a what's a ticker? This actually looks worse than a shitcoin because shitcoins at least do this, and they like make a floor. This thing has no floor. What is a mining stock that you want to look at? I don't know any of the tickers for them because I don't trade them. Hut. Oh, fuck. Okay. This looks exactly like coin. Funny enough. I don't think there's much more to say about that. Looks like shit. Lower highs. Yeah. Looks exactly like coin. Are there other ones? Hecla Mining Company? Is that one? Is this a Bitcoin mining company? Is this a Bitcoin mining company that existed before Bitcoin did? No. Bitcoin mining? Okay. Now look at O negative? Just O? Um, so I actually really like these kinds of setups. This is a setup that I've coined in my Discord called a meme head and shoulders. And a meme head and shoulders takes a form of this. So a typical head and shoulders looks like this, right? With typically a horizontal or ascending neckline. A meme head and shoulders, however, looks like this. Bang. And to the naked eye, the untrained eye, this looks like a normal head and shoulders. But what's different about this is it's already captured the liquidity on the underside. So, could this keep going down? Sure. But this has a potential for a bear trap. And you can see it sitting on a really important level right here. Basically like this. And if this thing can reclaim this thing, it'd be really good. But, I mean, if we're just looking at it from like a trend perspective, you know, it's not the worst. Not the best, but it's not the worst. I don't like that it's below the monthly. So we get a tight B-band squeeze, right? I don't like that it's below the midline. So I'll be very wary of just logging this in hopes of it being the meme head and shoulders setup. Rather, the more conservative option would be to long the move to the upside or short the B band attach on the downside if you have the ability to get short exposure to this, you know, if that was your inclination. Man, there's still 42 people here. This is crazy. Almost 2 hours into a stream and there's still this many people. Usually people are fading out by now, but I guess people are interested because of the movement on Bitcoin. So I'll take it. You know, as long as people are interested, we'll keep going. Realty Income Corporation. What's their deal? Is this a dividend yielding stock? What is this? Okay. Any other tickers you guys want to go over? You know what's funny is so what was the other shit stock? AMC. So here's an example of the impulse route. Okay, so I talked about this earlier. Here's the impulse route. Boom. Oops. Boom. And we can see the market sought this before it bounced. But the other thing is there's another impulse route and an even lower one. So I don't think this bleed and is anywhere close to being over. GBTC, yeah, we already talked about that. We can go over it again. So GBTC, where is it? GBTC. Boom. Do I know the price of GBTC without a discount? No. No. No, I do not. Man, I'm actually kind of butthurt because I got long on GBTC at $8. Like down here. And I sold that shit right in here. I mean, it was a good trade, but man, I got too spooked about all the volatility on Bitcoin, and it totally shook me out. But yeah, I got long like almost the fucking bottom of this thing. I'm embarrassed to say I got out too early, but it is what it is. But yeah, bullish as always on GBTC. All right. Yeah. All right. So if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. I will post this notepad to Discord now. This is a longer one, but cool. I'll post this to Discord right now. We'll go stream notes. Bang. There you have it. Once I upload this replay to YouTube, I will post that video with the notes. And yeah, and if you want the link to the Discord, here you go. It is free. It has all my content there if you want it. And if you're interested in the premium trade group, there's an application there. Fill that out and shoot me a message with that, and we'll take it from there. Okay. But we'll go ahead and wrap this up. This is a good stream. I appreciate you guys sticking around. And I'll do another stream on Wednesday. Now that the market's actually like breaking out, there's actually things to talk about. So exciting things ahead. All right. You guys have a great rest of your week. And keep an eye out for the little caveats I made in here, right? But so far, like, this thing looks good. I don't see this thing just selling off for no reason, but if it does, we've got a plan, and if it doesn't, we also have a plan. We have a plan for either direction, right? All right. You guys take it easy. I'll see you guys on Wednesday.